We begin today the Gemara on Daf Lamed Amud Beis, towards the bottom of the page where it says Amar Rav Yehuda. 6 lines up from the bottom of the Amud. The Gemara before spoke about a case where you have two Eidim. One Eid says he saw what he saw on Sunday. The other one said, I saw the same thing, that so-and-so borrowed $100, but he saw it the next day. He saw it on Monday. So there was a machlokes between the Tanakama, the Chachamim, and Rabbi Shua ben Karcha. Could you combine such Eidos? So the Chachamim say they're saying the same thing, that he owes $100. One saw it one day, one saw it the next day, but it's the same Eidos, you can combine them. Rabbi Shua ben Karcha, however, says you can't combine them. One saw Sunday, the other one saw Monday, so you can't combine these Eidos. So in continuation to this, the Gemara brings other halachas that will connect back to this Nakodah. And it begins with when you have eidos, that there's a certain discrepancy in their eidos. When they would, as we learned in the Mishnah, they would interrogate each one of the eidim separately to see if their words match. So Amar Rav Yehuda said, eidos hamakcheshe zu bibidikis. Eidim, that there's a contradiction in their words regarding some of the things that they examine them about. So as we had mentioned already before in the Masechta, there's what's called chakiris, sheva chakiris, and then that's what's called bidikis. Chakiris is the basic interrogations on the Eidim regarding the place and the time and things that are similar to that. If there's any contradiction regarding the actual place or time, then for sure this Eidus is not a good Eidus. Here we're talking about other details, which are called examinations, bedikis. And here the Eidim were found that there's one of these minute details that did not match between them. So Rav Yehuda said, Bedine Mamanis, regarding money matter, sorry, I missed one word. Kisheira, that is, Bedine Mamanis. So then, if there's just a discrepancy regarding a detail in the examinations, in money matters, this Eidus will still be good, will still be acceptable. So now here the Gemara explains what kind of a detail is it that we can say that even if they're not saying exactly the same thing, they're still kosher. Amar Rav said, Mistavrim Milsa Rav Yehuda, it's logical, like what Rav Yehuda said, in a case as follows. One says one says that it was a black wallet. The other one says it was a white wallet. The money that was borrowed. What kind of bag or what kind of wallet was it? So that's a detail where if they're not saying the same thing, it's a side detail. And therefore, if they both are saying that it's the same $100 and it's basically the same eidos, that side detail could be they didn't pay attention to, and it's the fact that they're making a mistake about that is not going to passel the eidos. How about if it's regarding the money itself? The money itself, so we're talking about then that the main thing of the money was the actual coins, and it was real gold or real silver. So one says that it was shiny, it was good, nice white silver, and the other one says it was very dirty black silver. So it's actually the quality of the actual loan itself, the money itself. So even though it's only a detail about the color or the how shiny it was, but that's actually about the goof of the whole edus. It's about the money itself. So you can't combine them as an edus. Okay, so now what do we see over here in what Rav Yehuda said? Rav Yehuda is saying that if there's an issue in these examinations regarding a side detail, by dinei mamanis would be kosher. Only by dinei mamanis though. So the Gemara asks, by dinei nefashis loy. By dinei nefashis, if you have a side detail like this where there's a discrepancy, so over there, by dinei nefashis, Eidim that want to say an Eidus against someone that is chayiv misa over there, you're going to say that this side detail is, the Eidus is not going to be kosher. Over here, it will be a problem, because by din and nefashis we're more machmer on the Eidim, that the Eidim are not going to use the words of the Eidim to be mechayiv someone misa, vitzilo Eidah, Bezin has to interrogate them much more. So by din and nefashis, Rav Yehuda holds that this is not the case. He said, dafke by din and mamanis. But v'amen Rav Chisda, we know Rav Chisda said as follows. When you have Eidim about a murderer, echadoime b'sayif, one says that he killed him with a sword, Hargai, that is, he killed him with a sword. The other says that he killed him with an ariron, another kind of thing. What's the ariron? What do they have there?
Dagger.
A dagger is, okay. So this is something smaller, or different, something else. So then this edus is not good. The Gemara actually uses the term of the pasuk. Rashi brings v'hine emes nochin adovar. When you interrogate the Eidim and it's nochin, it comes out to be true. But over here we're talking about the actual object that was used to murder this person, and they're saying there was a different object, so then they're not a good edus. However, if it's a side detail, one says that the murderer was wearing black clothing, and the other one is saying he's wearing white clothing, because it's only a side detail, so then this is edus it's correct, it's good, their words are fitting, even though on this side detail it's not. So we see here that even regarding dinei nefashos, Rav Chisda says that if there's a discrepancy in a side detail, it's still a good edus. And Rabbi Yehuda said that that's only the case when it comes to dinei mamanis. But by dinei nefashos, they have to be fitting in everything. So the Gemara says, Gavre karamis. You're asking a question from what Rav Chisda said and what Rav Yehuda said, from one Amayra on another Amayra. It's not a question on him. He disagrees with him. There's a disagreement over here regarding dinei nefashos. Now, third opinion, going back to dinei mamanis, Nerdoi Yomri, from in the city of Nerdoi, they said, even in a case where the discrepancy of the Edom is regarding a detail, but it's a detail in the actual money itself that was borrowed here. One says that it was dirty, it was black. The other one says it was white. Mitzdarfim, we could still combine the witnesses to be to be an Eidos here. So now here the Gemara comes back to what I mentioned before, the opinion of Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha. Because now the Gemara wants to understand what's the source of this opinion that they said in Nerdoi. That even if there's a discrepancy in the Edom regarding something in a detail in the actual loan itself, I can still combine them as Edom. So come on, according to whose opinion is this? Could Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha, could we say that this is based on what Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha said, that when you have one aid that says that he borrowed on Sunday $100, the other aid says he borrowed on Monday $100, even though it's different days, but still we could combine them. So is it Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha that according to him, the Nerdoi, they said the same point, that even if one says that it was black coins, the other one says it was white coins, so according to him, you could still combine them. So the Gemara says you can't compare at all to what Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha said. When did we hear that Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha said you could combine the two Edom of Sunday and Monday? They're not at all contradicting one another. They're saying the same exact thing, the same $100 that he borrowed. Over here, when there's an actual akasha, there's a contradiction here regarding the quality of these coins itself. Miyamar, is there any? Could we say that Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha also said in this case that we could combine the Edom? Says the Gemara, Elo Huda Amar Ki Hai Tana. In Nerdoi, what they said is according to the following Tana. There's a Tana and a Braise that we see this concept that you could combine the Edom even in a case where there's a discrepancy between them of this type. The Tanya we learned in the Braise. Amar Rab Shimon ben Elazar said, here it also speaks about a case where you have Edom, and as we'll see, the case over here is going to be where you have Edom where one is saying that he borrowed $100 and the other is saying he borrowed $200. So $100 both Edom are saying. Could you combine that? So the Braisa says as follows. Rab Shimon ben Elazar said, there is no argument between Beishamai and Beisilol al shtei kitei Edom. If we actually have not two Edom, one and one, but we have two groups of Edom. Sha'achas, one group of Edom, Oimeres Mosayim, says that he borrowed $200. V'achas Oimeres Mana. The other group of Edom said that he borrowed a Mana. So in such a case, I can definitely use this edus and say that they're not a contradiction here. It's not going to be a terei that it's a contradiction, and I can't accept any of the edim. Sheyesh b'chlal Messiah mana. In such a case, I'll say that they all agree that he definitely borrowed $100, so he's going to have to pay $100. The other 100, that is not included in both of the edim, but the 100, that there's no contradiction between them. That's if you have two groups of edim. What's the argument between Beishamai and Beisilol? Al katachas. When you have one group of Edom, Shebeshamai over here, by one group of Edom, one aid says that I saw he borrowed $100. The other aid says that I saw that he borrowed $200. So over here, Shebeshamai, it's regarding this case that Beishamai say, Nechlaka Edusan. Their Edom is split. They're not saying the same thing. You don't even have one group of Edom here that's saying the same thing. So you can't accept it at all. However, Beisilol says, even over here, when it's one group of Edom, yesh b'chlal masayim mana. Even though there's a difference between them. He says it was 100, he says it was 200, but 100 is included in 200. So, and the 100, we could combine them. So, based on the opinion of Beis Hillel, the way Rab Shimon ben Elazar explains it, in Nerdoi, they said similar regarding the coins. When one says mana shacha and one says mana lavan, even though there's a discrepancy over here, but you get to the ikir loan, when you get to the money itself. But just like Beis Hillel said regarding b'chlal masayim mana, when there's a difference between them regarding the amount of money, that nevertheless I say that what they did say the same, they're considered to be an eidos. The same thing over here regarding the money that was borrowed. If even though mana shacha, mana lavan, there's a discrepancy between them, but what they're saying the same could be combined, and they're one eidos. Now this brayso that we're quoting here, the Gemara is going to bring the continuation. There's another few cases here. It goes on to say that echad oimer chavis shel yayin. If one said that it was a barrel of wine that he borrowed, v'echad oim chavis shel shemen. The other says that it was a barrel of oil. So now hava uvde. Oh, sorry, this is doesn't look like it's part of the Braise. It's the Gemara. The Gemara bringing a halacha similar regarding such a kind of case, that there's a discrepancy in the Eidim where one says it's wine and one says it was oil. So hava ovde, there was such a kind of story. This was brought in front of Ravami to paskin about this. Could we combine the two to be Eidim here? So Ravami said that he has to pay the value of the wine based on the value of the oil that there is, meaning that the value of oil is much more than the value of wine. So you have over here a discrepancy between the two Eidim, but you have to pay at least the value that they both agree with. Right? So in the Chavita of the Chamre, you have to pay at least the value that they both agree with that he borrowed from him. Okay, so according to the one that says that it was only wine, it's worth much less, but at least that lesser value that they both agree with, so that you have to pay. So now here, this case is already different than what we mentioned before regarding money. Says the Gemara, Kaman. According to who is this psak din of Rabami? Rab Shimon ben Elazar? Is it like Rab Shimon ben Elazar said before, that when there's a discrepancy in the Eidim, whether it was $100 or $200, so I say the $100, that everybody agrees. So we have the same thing with the wine and the oil. The value of the wine, that aspect of the value that's less in the oil, that everybody agrees to. But you can't compare. When it's money, so here you could say when it's 200 is the 100. That's something that is exactly the same. That the two Eidim agree, so you can combine them. But kihai gavne, here when it's literally two different things, it's either oil or wine. You can't say that the wine, that there's a percent of the oil which is wine. And the value of it, yeah, there is a value of the oil that is the same as the lesser value of the wine, but the actual oil and wine is two totally different things. How can you combine these two Eidim? Says the Gemara, lo yitzriche ledami. It must be that story over there was that they were arguing about the, one says that you were made to me, that you owe me the value of a barrel of wine. And the other says that you were made that you owe me a bigger value, the value of oil, but there wasn't actually a discrepancy between Eidim, whether he borrowed wine or whether he borrowed oil. That you definitely can't combine Eidim for that. But it's all about when he was made money, and the only question is the value of the money, $100 or $200, exactly like the case of Rab Shimon ben Elazar. A third case the Gemara brings, one aid comes and says, I saw that you borrowed the money and it was on the upstairs, on the second floor. The other one says, no, you borrowed the money, it was on the bottom floor. So Rab Chanine said, this kind of a case came in front of Rebbe, and Rebbe combined their edus and said that it's one edus. And Rashi here says that the tziruf of the edus is based on what Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha said. Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha says that if you have one edus that says the same amount of money, but one says he borrowed on Sunday, one says he borrowed on Monday, you could combine them. Over here as well, one says on the top floor, one says on the bottom floor, you could combine them. And Rashi adds, it's also like Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says that when you have a discrepancy in the Eidim that's just in a detail, where there isn't, it's only in the Bedikis, but not in the Chakiris, you could combine them. So the Mefarshim say, this must be talking about a case where the top floor and the bottom floor, they're in one house, or they're right near each other. So it's not an issue of the actual Chakiris, that it's like a different location, B'chlal, that it's here or there, so that's the issue of Chakiris. It's not the same location, B'chlal, but it's the same location. The top floor and the bottom floor. So in such a case, the Eidim, you could combine them to be an Eidos. Going back to the Mishnah said, after you go out of the Bezdin and the Bezdin gave their final verdict, you can't have anybody of the Dayanim go out and start saying what was going on behind closed doors. And to say, I was really one of the Mizakeh. And Elamai, I'm sorry that it turns out that it was against you because of the others didn't want to listen to me. Not allowed to say that. So the Gemara brings a Braisa, Tan Rabbana. When you go out of the Bezdin, lo yoimad. So one of the judges shouldn't say, Hareini Mizakeh. I'm Mizakeh. I would say that you're exempt. But Chaveri Mechayven. My friends, the other judges, they were Mechayev you. My friends were the majority, and that's why the verdict was against you. Talmud Loima, the pasuk says, a person shouldn't be a gossiper amongst his people. What's a hoylech rachel? Megalasai, someone that reveals the secrets that are behind closed doors. So the Gemara brings the story to show to what extreme this goes. Ahu Talmida, there was a student, the Nafak Alei Kala, that there was a rumor about him, the Gale Milsa, the Itmer Be Medrasha, that he revealed something that was said in the Bismedrish, and Rashi says in this that this was something that was a Lashon Hara about someone, and this was said in the Bismedrish, and when did he reveal it? Basa Esrin V'Tartin Shnin. 22 years later, he spoke about it. Okay, and the Mefarshim add that the Gemara stresses that this was something that was said in the Bismedrish. So if it was said in the Bismedrish, it was already sort of public knowledge anyways. Everyone was talking about it. Number one. And number two, it's 22 years later. And he spoke about it, he revealed it. And because of this, Afkir Avami ben Bedrasha, Avami said that the student should leave the Bismedrish, he was suspended. And Omar, he said, Den Gal Yerazia. This is an individual that's revealing the hidden things. He's not supposed to reveal and say this Lashon Hara. So after the Mishnayos before here went through the process of a din Torah, so the last Mishnah here in this Pedic discusses what happens after the final verdict. Calls man shemei viraya, as long as any of the litigants comes back and brings any proof. So if there was already a verdict, but now he brings a proof that he was right, seiser sadin. So then you will go back on the verdict, because he proved now even during the din Torah he couldn't bring this proof. But anytime, there's no limitation. Anytime later on, he can come and bring a proof and be seiser din. Now, however, Omru Loi, if at the din Torah they are giving him time and they tell him, any proof that you have, we're giving you 30 days to produce any proof you have. So now, in such a case, so the Bach adds here, if you brought the rayas within those 30 days, seiser. So then we will be seiser the din that, in other words, this is actually after the psak din already. After the verdict, the Bezdin gave him the time. They gave him 30 days. So then, if within that frame of 30 days he brought a proof, so then we'll be seiser the psak din. But if it's after 30 days, ain't a seiser yet, we're going to undo the case, right? We're going to undo the verdict, the psak din. But after 30 days, then it's too late. They gave him that time. And the point here is that after 30 days, we're concerned that he saw that he can't find proper proof, so he's bringing some kind of a forgery or so whatever the proof that he's bringing is not true. That's why he couldn't bring it within 30 days. That's the chashash. So therefore, at this point, we're not going to go back on the verdict. But on this, Rav Shlomo Gamliel argues and he says, you're concerned that maybe this is now not truthful, but no, what should we do? An individual that was trying to find his proof before in that time frame of 30 days, and he couldn't. He only found it after 30 days. So we're not concerned that it's untruthful. And we still accept his proof, even though we gave him that frame of time, we still accept the proof later. Another case they argue about, the Bezdin says to this person, bring witnesses to back up your claim. And he says, I don't have any witnesses to back up my claim. Omar, the Bezdin says to him, bring any proof. He says, I have no proof. Now, but after a while, he does bring a proof, and he does bring Eidim. After he said that he doesn't have, and now all of a sudden he produces proof, a star, or whatever it is, or Eidim. We don't accept that kind of a raya, because at this point we're concerned, if he brought a star, it could be a forgery, he concocted this over here. So we can't accept this. He himself said he doesn't have. On this, Rav Shlomo Gamliel also argues and said, what should this person do? He wasn't aware of the fact that there were Eidim. When it happened, when he borrowed the money, or when he lent the money, that is, so he didn't see that there were these Eidim there. He didn't know that these Eidim are available. So he said he doesn't have, because he thought he doesn't have. But now he discovered that he has Eidim. He didn't know that he has a raya, and now he found a document. So therefore, we're not concerned, and even then, we still have to accept the Eidim or the raya that he brings. Now here's another case the Mishnah brings, and here everybody agrees. The person sees that the din Torah is drawing to a close, and it's closing in on him, and he's going to lose the din Torah. And he says, He says, oh, these two people, I have these two people right over here, let them come and say Eidos. And these are two people that are here, they're around, he knows about them. And for some reason, he didn't ask these Eidim to come. All of a sudden, the Dintayra is closing in against him. Oh, he says, now, come and say Eidos for me. So that's clear that this is a last-ditch effort because he sees he can't bring proper proof. So he's using these people they're not saying the truth. All of a sudden he pulls out of his belt or out of his pocket, all of a sudden I have a star. What happened? Why pulling out the star right now? That kind of a proof is not accepted at all because you clearly see that this is a forgery. Rabbi Baravuna said, so here we're talking about the first argument between the Chachamim and Rav Shimon and Gamliel when Bezdin gives the person a time frame of 30 days. So Chachamim said that after that time frame you can't bring any proof anymore. Rav Shimon Gamliel says that you could. So the halacha is Rav Shimon Gamliel. Rabbi Baravuna further said, we don't paskin like the Chachamim regarding this. So the Gemara asks Pshita, why does he have to say that it's halacha is not like the Chachamim? Even though halacha could Rav Shimon Gamliel, then halacha could Chachamim. If you say the halacha is like Rav Shimon Gamliel, that he could bring proof later, so that means halacha is not like the Chachamim. That says the Gemara, no, the reason he has to stress that the halacha is not like the Chachamim are the majority opinion. We're passing like Rav Shimon Gamliel against the majority opinion. So therefore I would think to say, that's the fact that we passing like Rav Shimon Gamliel is only lechatchila. The lechatchila, we say that if he has proof later, you're going to have to accept that proof at any given time. But b'di'eved, if b'di'eved the Bezdin went and said that we can't accept your psaktin after 30 days, and the Bezdin gave out the verdict and said it's over. So Shapradami, once the Bezdin b'di'eved did like the Chachamim, I would say, since after all they are the majority opinion, so b'di'eved it stays. Kamash Malon, therefore Rabbi Baravuna is stressing and saying, no, the Ovid, if you do even b'di'eved, you did like the Chachamim, ma'adrinan lei. So it doesn't matter, you go back and you say like Rav Shimon Gamliel that he could bring a raya at any time later. So we don't paskin at all like the Chachamim, not even b'di'eved. Now, in the next case of the Mishnah, where there's an argument of a Chacham and Rav Shimon Gamliel, Amalei Haved M'cholam Rav Shimon Gamliel. So where he was asked to bring Edim, and he clearly said, I don't have. And then later, all of a sudden, he produces Edim. So the Chachamim said, it's not acceptable. Rav Shimon Gamliel says it is. On this, Amar Rabbi Baravuna, Amar Rabbi Yechanan, halacha k'divrei Chachamim. In this case, we do paskin like the majority opinion, like the Chachamim. And Amar Rabbi Baravuna, and here as well, Rabbi Baravuna, Amar Rabbi Yechanan, went on to say also in the name of Rabbi Yechanan that someone not going to say Rabbi Yechanan, ein halacha k'Rav Shimon Gamliel, that we do not paskin like Rav Shimon Gamliel. So again, the Gemara asks, Pshita, we just said that halacha is like the Chachamim. Why does he have to stress that halacha is not like Rav Shimon Gamliel? Answers the Gemara, Kiv and so now over here, Rashi says the Gemara does not answer like it said before that I would think that maybe b'di'eved the halacha is still like Rav Shimon Gamliel. That svara the Gemara said before was based on the fact that the Chacham are the majority opinion. So there would be a svara that b'di'eved I can follow the majority opinion. But over here though, Rav Shimon Gamliel is himself. He's not the majority opinion. So why would I think that b'di'eved you should paskin like Rav Shimon Gamliel once you say that the halacha is like the Chachamim? So here the Gemara says. Sorry, this is all part of the question. Let's just finish the question. It's obvious. Answers the Gemara. No, here the answer is different. Hakamash Malan. This is what Rabbi Baravuna was telling us. The Bahahi ein halacha k'Rav Shimon Gamliel. It's only this case that we're speaking about. In other words, the second case of our Mishnah, there the halacha is not like Rav Shimon Gamliel. Habekulu. But in all other cases where Rav Shimon Gamliel has brought Mishnayos, halacha k'Rav Shimon Gamliel, we always will follow like the opinion of Rav Shimon Gamliel, even if it's against the majority opinion, even if against the Chachamim. Now, what's the chiddush and what Rabbi Baravuna is saying here? This is to exclude from what Rabbi Barbachana said in the name of Rabbi Yechanan, and he said that there's actually more exceptions where we don't paskin like Rav Shimon Gamliel. He said that Kol Makim Sheshana Rav Shimon Gamliel b'Mishnasenu, any time Rav Shimon Gamliel is mentioned in the Mishnah, halacha k'maisa, we always paskin like him. Chutz mi Arev, besides the case of Arev, which is in the Gemara in Baba Basra, regarding an Arev, whether you can collect from the Arev, even though the loiva has money. Vitzidan, a story about also a machlokes in Tzidam, which has been a get to a get, when there was a condition by a get, and Veraya Achrayna. And here, our Mishnah, Raya Achrayna refers to the second case of our Mishnah where we're discussing whether you can bring a Raya after you said that you don't have a Raya. In that case also, the halacha is not like Reb Shimon Gamliel. So according to Rabbi Bar Avuna, it's not only, it's only that is. According to Rabbi Bar Avuna, it's only Raya Achrayna. Our Mishnah, the second case of our Mishnah, it's called Raya Achrayna because it's the second case. This is the only exception where we don't paskin like Rav Shimon Gamliel. The other cases, he actually disagrees with Rabbi Yechanan or Rabbi Baruch Chanan, the name of Rabbi Yechanan. By Orev and Sidon, we do paskin like Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. That's why he's stressing that only here, Ein Halach like Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. So the Gemara brings a few incidents that happened in connection to what we're talking about. There was this child. He was a Yasim, and he's a child. He doesn't know what's going on really. So they demanded him to come to Bezdin in front of Rav Nachman about something about the inheritance. So Amalei Islach Sadi. Rav Nachman asked the child, "Do you have Edom to back up your claim?" Amalei lo Islach. So Amalei lo, he said no. Islach Raya. Do you have any proof? Amalei lo, he said he has no proof either. So Chayv Rav Nachman. So Rav Nachman was mechayiv him to pay. Have a kabachi va'azl. So this child was crying that he lost it in Torah. Shamu hanach inchi. So the people heard that he was crying. So Amrullah, they said to him, they asked him what's going on, what happened. So he told them the story that he lost it in Torah. So they said to him, Anan yadina b'milidavuch. We know about this matter that the Torah was about regarding your father's possessions, and we can come and testify for you. So now this is after the Torah, and after he said that he does not have a raya, and now they come and say that we have a raya. Amar Rav Nachman. So regarding this situation, Rav Nachman says, "Baha, in this case, I feel that Rabbanan maidu." Here, even the Rabbanan will agree that you can bring these edim even after the child said that he has no edim, because the Yinuka b'miladavu yada. The fact that he says he doesn't know, there's no concern that when he brings edim later that this is some kind of a lie or forgery. He's a child. He didn't know. That's why he said he doesn't have edim. Another case, says the Gemara, there was a woman, the Nafak Shturim Etusi Yada. She had a document in her hands, a document of a loan in her hands. She's not the borrower, she's not the lender. She was a third party that's holding on to this document. Amra, so she said to the lender, I can tell you, I know for a fact that this document of the loan that I have in my hands, it was already paid up. So do we believe her to say this or not? Hem not Rav Nachman. So Rav Nachman believed her to say this, even though she's just one woman. She's not. There's no Edom over here, and there's a star. But we believe her. We believe her to say that this document was paid off. Oh, Rav Nachman. So Rav says to Rav Nachman, "What's the basis of what you're saying? Why are we believing her? Come on. According to whose opinion is this? Is this Kerebi? Is this based on Rebbe's opinion? Now, what did Rebbe say? The Omar Rebbe said, Oisius Niknais b'Mesira. We had this in Baba Basra many times. When a person has a document in his hands, you want to sell a document. How do you sell a document? According to Rebbe, you just give over the document, and just by giving it over, that itself is the acquisition of this document. You don't need to have another kinyan to write another document of a sale for this kinyan here, for this document, which is a document for a halva, shibud and a karka, or a document which is a deed of a karka. You don't need any additional document to be written, just giving it over. Okay, so therefore, what's the Gemara saying? What's Rav saying to Rav Nachman? Based on what Rebbe said, that the very fact that I have the document in my hands, I can say it's mine. Because I don't need to bring any additional proof that it's mine. The fact that it's in my hands in itself is the raya that it was given to me, and therefore I can claim it's mine. This woman here that had this document alone in her hands, she could have just easily claimed this document is mine and you can't collect with it, it belongs to me. So therefore she has a migu. That's why she's believed to say to the lender, this document was paid up. If she's trying to prevent the lender of collecting money, why should she lie and say that it was paid up? She could just simply, she could say a much easier lie. She can just simply say, I bought it, it's mine, and you can't collect with it. So therefore she has a migu, and she's believed to say that the document was paid up. That's the basis of what Rav Nachman is saying, why we believe her. But so Amalei, so Rav Nachman answered back, it's not only according to Rebbe's opinion. Even if you don't hold like Rebbe, still she has a migu. Why? Shani Hacha, this case is different. Because the boy Kalse, this star was given to her in her possession. She could have just burnt this star. She didn't have to show us the star at all. And then you couldn't collect with it. So if she's not burning it, she's showing it to us, and she's saying that it's paid up. So she has the best migu in the world. She could have not produced the star at all. So definitely she's believed. It's not only according to Rebbe. This is one version of Rav Nachman's Psak Din. Now, Kedamri, another version here is Loyam ne Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman actually did not trust her. Amalei Rav Nachman. So now, according to this version, Rav asked Rav Nachman, why aren't you trusting her? V'ha iboy kalse. She has the best migu in the world. She could have just went and tore the entire star, or burnt the entire star. Answers the Gemara, according to this version, Kivin des chazik b'vei dina. Since we're talking over here about a star that had a hempik on it, meaning it was already verified in Bezdin that it's 100% a kosher star, there's witnesses, the signatures are all verified, in such a case, you have no migul. The power of the migul that she has to be believed is not strong enough to go against a verified document, a verified star. That's what Rashi here says. Taisvis, all the Rishonim ask on Rashi, how does it take away the point of the migu? The point of the migu is a proof that she's trusted. Whether the star is mekoyim, whether it's not mekoyim, what difference does it make? She still has the same migu. She could have burnt the entire star. So here, this Gemara is one of the sources for a klal that Tosfos says in Shas a few times, when you get to migu, that there's a concept of migu lemafreya lo yamrinan, that when you could have said a better taina, and that proves that you're not saying a lie now, or in this case, she could have burnt the star. Presently, she can't burn the star anymore. Now we see that the star is here. Had she not shown us the star, in that situation, she had an option to burn it. But now that she showed it to us, now she cannot burn the star. So in such a case, you don't say the concept of migu. Before, if she would have had a migu, but not now. It's too late. That's what's called a migu l'mafreya, and therefore there is no migu in this case. And the reason why you don't say migu l'mafreya, Tosfos says, is because the concept of migu is that she could have said a better taina, or she could have burnt the star, but maybe before she didn't think about this. She came and showed it to us to the Bez, and she didn't realize that she would have to burn the star to be believed. She didn't chapsach. She thought she could just say it was paid up and she would be believed. She thought she could just say this lie, it was paid up, and no one will have any shilas on her. And now she realizes that her lie is not being accepted on. Now you're saying she could have burnt it. It's too late. It's too late. If lachatchila she burns it, so fine, that's one thing. But not after she came already and she showed it to us. That is too late. And the Mefarshim say that according to Rashi, you have to say the same Nakuda as well. Okay, so now Esver Rav Nachman, Rav asked Rav Nachman on the second version over here of what Rav Nachman said, that we don't believe her. So there's a brayso that says, Simpoin sheyeshel avedim, if you have a simpoin, which is a receipt, and this is a proper receipt that the loan was paid up, it has witnesses that signed it, so Yiskayim b'chaismov, you verify this, the signatures of the shtar, and it's kosher. Ein olavedim, what if it's a receipt that has no witnesses on it, so there's no proof that this receipt is true at all? And v'yotze mitachas lidei shlish, it's in the hands of a third individual. Or you have a writing on the shtar itself. It's not a separate receipt, but on the shtar itself, in the bottom of the signatures, it's added and it's written that this loan was paid up. But the thing is, though, there's no proof at all that this is true, because there's no edim on this. It's nothing really. There's no zero proof for this receipt. Kosher. But nevertheless, it's in the hands of the shlish. It's going to be kosher. And the shlish says that it was not, that it was paid up. We actually trust this third individual holding on to the shtar, saying that it was paid up. So Alma, what do we see from here? Shlish mehamen, that the third person that's holding on to this, he's believed. He's believed to say that it's paid up. To Yufta the Rav Nachman, this refutes what Rav Nachman said. Rav Nachman said that we don't believe her. She has no migu, and the shlish as well has no migu over there, and we don't believe him. So to Yufta, this refutes what Rav Nachman said. Kiyasira, according to this version of Rav Nachman. Okay, so now the Gemara goes on to say another halacha. Kiyasir Rav Dimi. Why do you believe the shlish? Oh, so Rashi over here. Okay, so the reason why we believe the shlish, Rashi says over here, Svare, that if the loiv and the malva decided that they're giving over the shtar to a third party to hold it on to them, so they made up between themselves that we're going to trust him. That's why they gave it to this third individual. Why are they giving it to him? Because he's a trustworthy person for them. So they're giving it to him and they're trusting him. Whatever he says. Right? So whatever he says, right, exactly, they're going to trust him. That's basically what the Braisa is saying. So that refutes what Rav Nachman said, that we don't trust this woman or we don't trust the shlish. Kiyasi Rav Dimi, Amar Rav Yechanan. Rav Dimi came and he said in the name of Rav Yechanan, going back to what we were discussing in the Mishnah, regarding a person that says that he has no proof and then later on he wants to bring proof, or the Bezdin gave a person a time frame. A person could always continue bringing rayas, and he can besaiser the verdict, the psakdin of the bezdin, until he has no other rayas to bring. He doesn't have any additional raya to bring. If he says he doesn't have any raya to bring, so then he can't bring any additional raya anymore. And then the statement goes on to say that Rabbi Yechanan said, "V'yoymar kirvu ploini v'hayiduni," and he says regarding two people that are there, and they're there all the time, and he says to them, oh, you come and say the Eidos. So since they're there all the time, for that he's not going to be trusted. Okay, so now, this statement here that Rabbi Yochanan says, there's a contradiction here. The Gemara explains here that what doesn't make sense what he's saying. Ha gufa kashya, the statement there is contradictory. Amri, at first you say, Yistatim Tanaisov. He's believed to bring rayas as long as he wants, until Yistatim Tanaisov. What does Yistatim Tanaisov means? When he himself comes and says, I have no rayas anymore, I'm stuck. So then that's also the Rabbanan. That means that Rabbi Yochanan is passing like the Rabbanan's opinion. Why? Because that's what the Rabbanan said. As soon as a person says, Ainli, Eidim, I don't have, that's it. Later on, he can't go back on that. He can't bring anymore. That's the taich of Yistatim Tanaisov, like the Rabbanan. But on the other hand, what does he say? Then you're saying that Rabbi Yochanan said that when do we say he's not going to be believed? If he says kirva ish pleni vayiduni, that he could bring rais even after he says he has no rais, he can continue bringing rais forever because he may have found Edom later. Only if there's two Edom that were there all the time, and he all of a sudden turns to them and say, "Oh, come say Eidos." That's fishy. That's something's wrong over here. Why all of a sudden is he saying now? Come say Eidos. So that's also Rav Shimon Gamliel. That part of the statement is like Rav Shimon Gamliel that says that you can bring Edom all the time later. Now, if you want to answer and say, Kula Rav Shimon Gamliel, that really the statement here is saying that Rabbi Yochanan is passing like Rav Shimon Gamliel, that you can bring Edom as long as you want. And he's explaining himself. My achi istatim tanoisav. What does it mean until he gets stuck in his claims? It doesn't mean that he said simply, I don't have. That's not enough. When he has zero, he sees that the din Torah is closing in on him, and then he turns to so and so and says, "Here, come, come, say Eidos." That's a proof that he's saying a lie. So really, it's all he's passing like Rav Shimon Gamliel, but that can't be because we just said before. He said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, "Kol makom sheshana Rav Shimon Gamliel." Mishnah Seinu. Anytime we have Rav Shimon Gamliel's opinion in the Mishnah, halacha kamaisai, we always pass like him. But chutz mi'arev etzidim v'rayach reina. This case is one of the exceptions that we don't pass like Rav Shimon Gamliel. So therefore, the Gemara changes the language of what was said here in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. It was really different. Now, like Yasser Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda came, so he quoted it accurately. This is what Rabbi Yochanan said: La'olam me'virayv v'saiser. You can always bring additional proof and b'saiser, the verdict of the psak din of the bezdin, achi istatim tanaisav, until he gets stuck. And what does it mean he gets stuck? V'yomer loy, and the v'yomer loy, that is, the bezdin tells him, have edim, bring edim. And v'ama ainli, and he says, I'm stuck, I don't have ainli edim. Or have raya, bring proof I'm ainli raya, I don't have any raya. And then he goes ahead and he brings, here we pass like the chachamim that were suspicious that this raya is a forgery. Okay, now an additional halacha that Rabbi Yochanan said, there's an exception to this. Avubo edim in Medina Sayam, if after he said he doesn't have, now edim came from overseas, or there was a bag of documents that was from his father that someone else was holding for him in his possession, then he can bring a raya from that. Even much later on, after he said he doesn't have, he can bring a raya. Because the fact that he said he doesn't have was because the Edom overseas, or because this was a bag of documents in someone else's possession. So here it's similar to what we said before regarding the Yasim, that it's reasonable to understand why he said he doesn't have, so it doesn't look like a forgery. He came and he said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, you have someone that is grabbing his friend and he's very forceful and he's taking his friend to a din Torah. Now, so what happens if, let's say, the malva says, the lender says, let's go to a bezdin right over here in the city. And then the borrower says, no, I don't want to go to this bezdin here in the city. I want to go to the main bezdin of the chachamim that are in that place where they gather far away. Let's go to the main bezdin. So what's the halacha? So, so we force the lender. He's going to have to join the borrower that's demanding of him to go to the main bezdin that could be far away, and he has to go there to that bezdin for the din Torah. That's the halacha Rabbi Yochanan said. In front of Rabbi Lazar, so Rabbi Lazar said in front of Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi, Misha Neisha B'Chaveri Mana Yotzi Mana Al Mana. A person's trying to collect $100 for a loan, and this person is giving him trouble to collect the money. Now he's going to have to spend $100 to travel to a bezdin far away in order to collect $100. He's going to lose the money. How could the leiva force the malva to go and travel to a faraway bezdin? Elo, so therefore Rabbi Lazar said, Kaif and Isai, v'dam be'iroi. We're going to force the borrower to make the dentator right over here in the city so that the lender should not have to lose money out of this. It manami yom Rav Safre, two that are arguing, and it's a very fierce argument in the dentator. So one says, Nidin kan, we're going to do the dentator here in the city. Let's go to a different bezin, to a better bezin, to the main bezin that's far away. So the borrower is forced to do the dentator over here in the city. Now, what happens if the bezdin in the city does not know the halacha properly, and they have to figure out? So now, even then, the borrower can't force the lender to go to a different bezdin. If there's something they have to ask, to inquire, to know how to paskin, so they send to the greater bezdin to ask them to inquire, but then what the psak din is. But the bali dinim, we don't force them; they can't force one another to go to another bezdin. Now, in such a case, if the borrower says, "You paskening that I'm chayav to pay. I want you to write to me and explain to me what's the source of your psak din, what's the basis of your psak din." So then they write for him, and they give him this. This is what's known as heichen dantuni. That the baldin could say, "I want you to give me the source for this." And in order for him, the point of here is, in order for him to be able, this is Taisus over here says, this is regarding this case where there's an argument. He wanted to go to a greater bezdin, and the lender says, "No, I want to stay in this regular bezdin right over here in this city." So it's in such a case that he could say, "I was staying by the smaller bezdin here in this city, but I want them to give me a document that's going to tell me the reasoning of the psak din, so at least I could go myself. You don't want to join me? Fine. I'll go myself to the greater bezdin and show them the reasoning of the psak din of this bezdin to see if they agree with it." So then it's that we grant him, and they have to give him the reasoning for the psak din, so he can go to a greater bezdin. At least himself, he can go to a greater bezdin. Now another halacha v'hayivame halecha. Yeah, if you go afterwards to a greater bezdin, and if they will say that the psak din was wrong, then you can go back on the verdict. So he wants to have the option to at least show a greater bezdin. Another case, in a case of yibum, so the yivame has to go to the city of where the yavam is, not the other way around. La tira, to be mater her. Now, at kama, how far does she have to travel for this? Amar Rabami says, even to travel from Tveria to Tzipori, a very far distance. Amar Rav Kahana. Rav Kahana said, Mikro, what's the source for this? Because by the Yavam it says, V'koru loi ziknei iroi, that the elders of his city are going to summon him for the Yibum. So it says, V'loi ziknei ira. It's not done in her city, it's not done in his city. Okay, going back to the halacha about the balidinim in a dintayre of a money matter. So Amar Ameimer said, the halacha is, Hilchase, when there's an argument if they should go to the bezdin in this city or they should go to a greater bezdin that's far away, they go to the makom avad, to the greater bezdin. Ravashi said to Ameim, but Rabbalazar said that no, you forced the borrower to go to the bezdin over here in the city. They don't go far away. Also, here the Gemara says it actually depends who it is that wants to go to the greater bezdin far away. If it's the borrower that doesn't agree to stay by the smaller bezdin here and he wants to go to the greater bezdin, he can't force the lender that lent him the $100, that did him the favor, to go now to another bezdin. And the Gemara said he's going to lose $100 to go there after he lent them $100. But if it's the malva, the lender is the one that wants to go to the greater bezdin. Eved loive lish malva. So the loive is like a slave to the malva, meaning he has to follow the bezdin that the malva wants to go to. So if it's a malva, if it's a lender that wants to go to the greater bezdin, he's going to have to go. Okay, now the Gemara brings a story in connection to this. Sholchale lemar ukve. They sent from Eretz Yisrael a message to Mar Ukve, which was the dayan. He was the dayan of the bezdin in Bavel. So and they sent him and they referred to him as follows: Lidizivle kebar Basya. To the one that his face shines like the son of Basya, which refers to Moshe Rabbeinu that was raised by Basya. This week's parsha, the story about Moshe Rabbeinu that was raised by Basya. Okay, so this is how they refer to Mar Ukve. So Rashi over here brings actually one story about this. Why did he get this kind of nickname? So Rashi says he found in a medrash that this Mar Ukve was about tshuva. And he had a case where there was a woman that was an Eishes Ish that he wanted to marry her, he wanted to have a relation with her. And then later it came to a situation where she finally agreed, even though she was an Eishes Ish. And then he pushed her away and he did shuvah. And because of that, wherever he walked, wherever he went, he had this glow on his face. Like Moshe Rabbeinu, it says that Moshe Rabbeinu's face was glowing. Yeah. Okay. So that's the nickname they gave him. Now, what did they send him? They sent him Shalom, peace upon you. And then they told him that there's an individual in Bavel that has it in Taira. Ukvan Abavli, an individual by the name of Ukvan, that's in Bavel. Kabal Kadmana, he complained to us. And what did he complain about? That Yirmiyah Achi, Yirmiyah my brother, Hevrelai Saderech. What is Hevrelai Saderech? One Pshat Rashi says is a terrible thing that he violated him, he castrated him. Another Pshat Rashi says is Hevrelai Saderech means in money matters. He stole money from me, or it's an issue of money matters that I haven't done with him. So the message that they sent to Mar Ukve in Bavel is Va'amru Loi Ve'imru Loi. And you should speak to him about this. In other words, you should make it entire, settle the matter between these two individuals, which is Ukvan and Yirmiyah. And then they went on to say, Hisiyuhu v'yire panene b'Tverya. You should bring them, you should force them to come to us for a dentaire here in Tverya. So the Gemara explains, first they said, Ve'imrulai, speak to them about it, and they said, Hagufakashi, you're contradicting yourself. Amret Imrulai. First you said that they sent a message to say, you speak to them about it and settle the matter. Almedainu Atun. That means that you over there, Mar Ukva, should judge them in Bavel. And then it said, Hisiyu v'yire panenu b'Tverya. Then afterwards he says, no, force them that they can come to the Bezin to us over here in Tverya. So Alme Shadru Hache. So that means that you should send them to us, not that you should judge the matter over there. So the Gemara explains, the Pshat is as follows. This is the message that they sent. Imrule, you should speak to him, it means Dainu Atun. You should judge them over there in Bavel. Now, Tzayis, if he's ready, he's agreeing to stay over there in Bavel, so then you'll be able to take care of the matter. But V'iloi, if he's not in agreement, then it's you, then you'll force them, V'yiru Panene b'Tverya. And they'll come and they'll be judged over here in Eretz Yisrael in Tverya. That's one shot in this what this meshes, what the story was. Rav Ashi says, Dinik Knossos Have. It was a case where it was a money matter, but related to a penalty. Now we know, Bavel loy daina dinik knossos. In Bavel, they cannot judge any matters of a knas, and the reason is because you have to have a bezdin of smuchen, you have to have smiche, and in Bavel there was no smiche, and therefore they could not judge matters of knossos. And so then why did they send him to say that you take care of the matter, imrulei? That was just to give him honor, to say that you're in charge and you take care of the matter. But really, they were telling him that since this is a matter of knossos and you have to have a proper business, as Rashi brings the pasuk elehim on this, so therefore you have to send him to Eretz Yisrael to Tverya. Hadron Allah Zabayra. We shall return to you the third Perek of Masechtas Sanhedrin, Perek Zabayra.